Trump advisors took advantage of Navarro's absence to push for tariff pause. They needed to get the president alone. On April 9th, financial markets were going haywire. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick wanted President Trump to put a pause on his aggressive global tariff plan. But there was a big obstacle: Peter Navarro, Trump's tariff-loving trade advisor, who was constantly hovering around the Oval Office. Navarro is an T1 to back down during policy debates and had stridently urged Trump to keep tariffs in place, even as corporate chieftains and other advisors urged him to relent. And Navarro had been regularly around the Oval Office since Trump's Liberation Day event. So that morning, when Navarro was scheduled to meet with economic advisor Kevin Hassett in a different part of the White House, Bessent and Lutnick made their move. According to multiple people familiar with the intervention, they rushed to the Oval Office to see Trump and propose a pause on some of the tariffs, without Navarro there to argue or push back. They knew they had a tight window. The meeting with Bessent and Lutnick wasn't on Trump's schedule. The two men convinced Trump of the strategy to pause some of the tariffs and to announce it immediately to calm the markets. They stayed until Trump tapped out a Truth Social post, which surprised Navarro, according to one of the people familiar with the episode. Bessent and Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt almost immediately went to the cameras outside the White House to make a public announcement. "We needed everyone singing from the same song sheet," a person familiar with the matter said. The stock market had cratered after some of Trump's tariffs started to go into effect on April 2nd. The next week, an even more troubling sign had emerged: a sell-off in Treasury bonds, normally a safe haven when markets are turbulent. The Truth Social post sent the stock market soaring and helped stabilize the Treasury market. Later that day, Trump said he made the decision because financial markets were getting yippy and because he was keyed into warning signs from the bond markets. Just hours earlier, he had told people in a separate Truth Social post to stay cool, suggesting he might stay the course. A spokesperson for Bessent said, "The President's team is working hard to implement the America First trade agenda for the American people. Those who aim to divide the President's team on trade seek to undermine our administration's goal of uplifting hard-working Americans." A spokesman for Lutnick said Trump's team was working together. The notion that we are playing gossip girl games is simply false. We are fully focused on implementing President Trump's vision, the spokesman said. More mischief from anonymous sources seeking to divide and conquer the trade team, Navarro said in a text message in response to a request for comment. White House spokesman Kush Desai said, "President Trump has assembled an all-star trade and economic team to implement his America First agenda and finally address our country's national emergency of persistent trade deficits. Every member of the Trump administration is playing from one playbook, President Trump's playbook, to level the playing field for our workers and industries and restore American greatness." The alliance between Bessent and Lutnick illustrates how fast things can change inside Trump's White House. Bessent and Lutnick were locked in a messy public battle during the presidential transition when they were both vying for the Treasury Secretary job. Bessent ended up winning out over the objections of Elon Musk, but Lutnick was given the hefty trade portfolio as part of his consolation prize running the Commerce Department. On trade, however, there are numerous White House officials who have opinions and strategies, including Navarro, who learned much about White House maneuvering during his time in serving in Trump's first term. Navarro has proven a singular force in Trump's orbit, a longtime advisor who has channeled Trump's pro-tariff instincts and often annoyed his colleagues. He served a prison sentence last year but returned as a trade advisor when Trump won. And Trump has told others that Navarro went to prison for him, the Wall Street Journal has reported. Navarro was a polarizing figure inside the White House during Trump's first term, often clashing with National Economic Council Director Gary Cohn and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. At one point, Mnuchin and Navarro went together on a trip to Beijing to discuss trade with Chinese officials, and tension between the two men became so heated that they engaged in a heated back and forth outside the talks. Trump has long been fond of Navarro, though, as they share a maximalist view on trade policy that calls for more dramatic changes. Navarro co-wrote a book, Death by China, which shares many of Trump's views on Beijing. Navarro's hardline views on China have helped him win the support of large parts of Trump's base, many of whom are anti-Wall Street. But it has made him a pariah with many financial executives and business leaders,